Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise recap. I'm Griffin Aldridge. Alongside me, we have Tommy Martinati and David Karras. And your Boston Celtics have won with a final score against the Washington Wizards, 136 to 107. What a win! I mean, Tommy, you and I were in here the other night talking about that loss to the Jazz and how disappointing it was. But the Boston Celtics have bounced back in a great way, and let's go over it, you guys. So, initial thoughts, Tommy, we'll start off with you and go to David. But what are your thoughts after this big win from the Boston Celtics?
There was a few things that I was keeping my eye on going into this game after seeing that tough loss to Utah the other night. The first one was hopefully to out rebound Washington. This is definitely a much better matchup for the Celtics, seeing how the Wizards basically have no size besides Alex Sarr. They don't have much size across the board at all. So I was hoping to see the Celtics jump on the glass a little bit on them. But that didn't really happen tonight. The Celtics out rebounded them 40 to 39. So I'm kind of calling that a watch, especially it being a 20-point game. Then the second thing was to create turnovers. Washington obviously isn't a good team. They're really young. Middleton was out tonight as well. So I really wanted to see them create some turnovers and get easier looks in transition. And they did a good job of that. Washington had 18 turnovers to the Celtics 5. It allowed the Celtics to run a little bit more. Minot had two impressive lobs that gave the Celtics a lot of momentum. So just little plays like that was what was able for the Celtics to kind of create some separation in that second quarter. The third thing I wanted to see tonight was for Derek White to kind of get going. We didn't really see that. He wasn't very aggressive. I think he only took 8 shots. But he wasn't that aggressive tonight. I still want to see him get going because he kind of has to be a more of a reliable scoring option behind Jaylen Brown. Um, those were kind of the three keys that I was looking at going into the game, and it was just good to see him win. I don't think Washington's a great team at all. Besides, I think Sarr's a great player, but besides him, they're just very inexperienced. So, good bounce back win for the Celtics.
Yeah, and I mean, pretty much it was just summarized right there by Tommy. But did what we had to do, beat a team that we should have beat. It definitely was a little bit nerve wracking early on, especially heading down by 11 at the end of the first quarter. But a guy like Jordan Walsh, I thought was a huge difference maker, and even though he put up a Marcus Smart esque stat sheet with only 7.7 rebounds and 1 assist. But what really stands out to me is he had the second highest plus minus on the Celtics with a plus minus of 27. And you could just tell this is Walsh had one of those games tonight where you had to watch the game to really see his true impact. The stat sheet just doesn't do him justice. So I was really happy with his minutes off the bench. Jaylen Brown in just 3 quarters was incredible. We'll definitely talk more about him later. But I mean, yeah, I definitely was nervous early on, thinking that we were getting back to our old ways or staying in this rut of the ball not finding the ocean, the ball not falling in the basket. I mean, we started 0 for 6 from 3, but we finished the night 16 for 41. I'll take that any day of the week. And I mean, it's a tale as old as time. We won all the margins, and that's what Joe Mazzulla has been saying for years. We won all the important margins. We got 15 more shots up than Washington, and we made 13 more field goals than them. I mentioned the 3-pointers. We were a a plus 27 in the 3-point margin. We made 16 threes compared to their 9. We only had 5 turnovers compared to Washington's 19. We had 6 more assists compared to them, 31 to 25. So a much needed win after dropping a couple rough games in a row. I mean, I think we talked about this last time where Houston was a scheduled loss, but I mean, there was no excuses for losing to Utah on Monday, but good to bounce back.
Yeah, wonderful win from the Celtics. And one thing I do take away from this is, getting guys minutes. In that fourth quarter, the Boston Celtics, which we haven't seen this in a while, were up by so much. They had other guys perform and get experience. And one of the guys I kind of want to highlight right now is, Anthony Simons, who was a guy who at half was kind of struggling. I believe. I don't think he had any points at halftime. I might be wrong with that if you guys don't mind correcting me, but then he came out in the third and fourth quarter and was just on fire. And, it was kind of a game to boost confidence. And you mentioned it, I think, Tommy. I think it was you, Tommy, that Derek White, this was kind of a game for him to bounce back as well. And he had a better game, but is this a game that we expected from Derek White? I think we're expecting, we saw that Raptors game, that preseason Raptors game where he had 33 points. And I think that's what we're expecting from Derek White. But I don't know if he's going to bring you that kind of scoring. I hate to say it, but I think that's the truth right now, at least while he's struggling. I hope to see him get up there in the 20s, but 12 points, can't be mad about that. But ultimately, almost a development night. Didn't really have guys like Boucher or Tillman come off the bench and didn't really give Shireman a lot of minutes, but you got those key role guys some minutes, and I think that's what was important in kind of giving them more experience and build their confidence up. So I think this was more so a confidence game, and blowing out the Wizards like this, it's the Wizards at the end of the day, but beating them by 29 points and having 136 be your final score, that's one thing that they're going to be impressed about leaving the locker room. But if you guys want to chime in on that too.
One thing David touched upon it when he gave his thoughts, but it was Jordan Walsh for me too stood out instantly when he got into the game. And I think moving forward, I think I'd rather give him minutes over Shireman for sure. And even I think he can take some from Hugo Gonzalez just because of I love how Gonzalez plays. He plays with his heart every single night. He's diving all over the court, giving the team a little spark. But I think Jordan Walsh is a little more experienced at this point. I think his size defensively and especially on the glass, I feel like he can impact the game more than Shireman, for sure. And maybe even Chris Gonzalez based off experience there. And just I want to see Hugo get more comfortable on the offensive end of the court. So I'm really interested to see what Walsh's minutes are moving forward over these next few games. Because his impact, if you look at the box score, you're not going to see a whole lot, but just his impact to the game was instant when he got into the court. Him and Pritchard were a huge spark for the Celtics in the second half, in the second quarter. When they desperately, it felt like they couldn't make a shot. It felt like it was going to be one of those long games where they were going to let Washington stay in it, and who knows what happens at the end. But just seeing his progression moving forward, Jordan Walsh, and kind of seeing where his minutes may or may not go, is something I'm going to be keeping an eye on over these next few games.
Yeah, and David, if you wanted to go over quarters, because again, yeah, it looked like Washington had this game at first. I mean, they started off with all the momentum. However, the Celtics took that over, from the second quarter on. But if you wanted to go over that really quick, because it's kind of crazy to see this, game plan. Like it was nuts.
Yeah, so first quarter, the Wizards ended up winning that first frame 37-26. Kind of alluded to it a little bit. We had a bad end to that quarter, which allowed them to extend that lead to double digits. Second quarter, the Celtics flipped the table and won that quarter 44-23. This included a 21-4 run in that quarter, which jettisoned the Celtics ahead of the Wizards at the half. Then in the third quarter, the Celtics won at 32-20, and in the fourth quarter, the Celtics won at 34-27. So, as you already touched upon it, Griffin, shaky first quarter 100%, but the Celtics were able to run the tables the rest of the way.
Yeah, they, and you see that happening a lot in games. The Boston Celtics aren't usually a team that beats you all four quarters. They usually have a quarter where, and we saw it a couple of nights ago, I believe, where I think it was against Philadelphia, where they beat them in the first quarter, and that was enough to do it for the rest of the game, I'm pretty sure. But the Boston Celtics are more than capable of doing that. And do you guys have any more thoughts before we move on to players?
No, I'll get right into the player stats. The only two guys that really stood up for me for Washington was Alex Sarr. He had a great night tonight, 31 points, 8 rebounds, 12 of 20 from the field. I think his future is extremely big. And the other guy would be Trey Johnson off the bench. He played 24 minutes. He only had 7 points, but he's a rookie, and I think his ability to score the ball, I feel like he's going to get a lot of minutes for Washington this year. But besides that, it was a really quiet night for everybody else. McCollum only 3 points. Bagley had 11 points off the bench. He had a few good plays around the rim, but besides that, they were pretty quiet. And then for the C's, Minot had 21 points. That was a new career high for him. I think Keita had a great game tonight for his standards. We've talked about him a lot on this, and he had 15 points tonight and 12 rebounds. And for what we expect from Keita, I mean, you can't really ask much more out of him in that position. So a great night from Keita, in my opinion. Derek White, not at his usual self yet. He had 12 points. He only attempted 8 shots. He was 4 of 8. So again, not Derek White getting hot tonight, but he definitely played his role, 8 assists. So he was playmaking and getting other guys good looks. Jaylen Brown, in only 26 minutes, he had 35 points. Again, proving to be the Celtics' go-to guy and stepping up to the plate with Tatum out. Pritchard, 18 points, 5 assists. Really solid night from Pritchard as well. Really, our starting five, pretty much everybody contributed and had a good night. And the biggest guy for the Celtics off the bench for me were Anthony Simons, again, producing and scoring off the bench, and that's what the Celtics need out of him. And Jordan Walsh, 24 minutes, 7 points, 7 rebounds. He had a block and 2 steals, so he really had his imprint all over the game. So a good night for the Celtics. A lot of guys saw some minutes. Hauser finally hit a 3. Hopefully that gets him going moving forward. But that's kind of quick review on all the player stats from tonight.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts, Andrew?
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry about my tardiness, but I'm here, and I mean the first one is obviously we started off slow, right? There's probably a lot of fans, a lot of people concerned. I mean, we're playing a Washington team who's 1-4. They're really not expected to, or 1-7 actually. They're not expected to really do anything. They're gonna have and be in that lottery pick, and fans are like, oh, what's going on? So obviously there's a lot of concern, but I'm glad to see that the Celtics decided to respond. They didn't get down on themselves. They didn't say, man, we're losing to this team. They just decided to pick their head up, find momentum. I loved Pritchard's energy during the second quarter when he's kind of turning it around. He's throwing his hands up to the crowd. He's getting them involved. That's awesome to see. And it's cool to see Pritchard stepping into that leadership role. And I think we're going to see guys are going to get frustrated. They're going to, and it's nice to see that Pritchard's like, I'm a return. I've been here. I know what it's about. And we have a standard that we're going to play at. And I'm going to make sure that the guys around me rise to the occasion. So that was awesome to see. And then, I mean, Boston had a crap ton of points off of turnovers, which is awesome. That shows defensively they're playing well, and then they're getting out in transition and working together as a team in that aspect. And then just Jaylen Brown. I mean, Jaylen Brown looked amazing. One of his best games of the season. I mean, getting to his spots, knocking down shots at on every level, and he is in my eyes solidifying that he is number one. He's a number one player. He's going to take your team to the promised land. It's not a matter of Brown not doing enough for the Celtics. It's the Celtics maybe bench the pieces that they have on the team that's not good enough to support Brown. That's how I see it. I think that's how I'm looking at it now, and I'm very happy to see this win. I mean, thank God they beat the Wizards, right? That's all I gotta say.
All you gotta say. But who are we thinking for Celtics Nation Rise MVP? And we'll go in this order. We'll go Andrew to me. Who do you guys got?
Celtics Nation Rise. Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown for sure. I mean, I know we've had a lot of JBs for MVPs, but when with a team, maybe not as deep, your all-star has to carry the team a lot more than normal, right? He has to put the team on his back. He's got to take them to the promised land. He's got to deliver them a win, and Jaylen Brown did that tonight. So that's my MVP. I think that we might see that more often, honestly, because I think it's a little more centered and focused on Brown more so than it ever was. And maybe past seasons you're going to see a guy kind of, there's going to be people are going to be scoring more collectively, so there's more room to have different MVPs. But if Brown keeps playing the way, I mean, he's going to run away with it.
Yeah, I think the easy answer tonight is Brown, but I'm going to give my MVP vote to Peyton Pritchard, just because of what Quinny just talked about. That first quarter was extremely tough to watch. I was just sitting there expecting the worst from the rest of that game. I hated the energy of that first quarter. Washington was playing with confidence, but then Pritchard came in that second quarter when the Celtics needed someone besides Brown to step up. Pritchard did that. He had, I think, 12 of his 18 points in the second quarter. He had 5 assists again, so he's continuing to play make. And it's crucial for somebody else besides Brown to step up and be a reliable scoring option. Again, White still hasn't gotten there. He will heat up eventually. I'm confident in that, but I'm going to give it to Pritchard tonight, just to mix it up a little bit. But I think we all know who deserves it. So it's a little my touch on the MVP talk.
Yeah.
What about you, David?
I'm going to give the same exact answer I gave in the last recap I did, where my MVP is Jaylen Brown, our fellow streamer in the live streaming community. But it very well could go to a guy like Neemias Queta as well, because literally our only offense at the beginning was Jaylen Brown and Neemias Queta. I mean, Brown and Queta combined for like 17 of our first 19 points. And I mean, it's already been said so much already about JB, but like this is the perfect game for him tonight in terms of just efficiency, shooting over 60% from the field. Only took 4 3-pointers, hit 2 of them. Hit 7 of 9 free throws. Didn't foul much. Was a plus 11. Biggest thing for me, and he had 5 assists too. I love to see that as well. But the biggest thing for me was the fact he did all this in just 26 minutes. I mean, we know that he's dealing. I mean, he's no longer on the injury report, but I'm sure he's still probably dealing with that hamstring problem that he sustained at the end of the preseason. So the fact that he's able to sit out this early in the season from a whole fourth quarter plus of a game and get some added rest in the middle of this 82 game grind, I think is huge. And I don't think it's being talked about too much, probably for good reason, given that the Celtics are still under 500 9 games into the season. But I don't think it's getting talked about enough across the NBA community how incredible Jaylen Brown has been to start the season. I mentioned this again the last time I was on here, but this is like throwback Jaylen Brown to me in terms of not only scoring in high volumes, but also his efficiency is back to what it used to be in the early 2020s. So this is just another great game from Jaylen Brown. Again, give my flowers to Queta with the double-double. I love seeing him get coached hard on the sideline by Joe Mazzulla, even though we were already up like 24, 25 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, and I know Queta loves that too, but I got to go with Jaylen Brown on this one again.
So even though my vote doesn't matter unless I went Peyton Pritchard, but and then I don't know what we would do at that point, but my vote's gonna go to Neemias Queta. So I think he deserves a vote in here because I think that's the thing. We might give the MVP to someone, but I think Queta deserves a vote because I mean we've been hard on Queta, and I think there's a lot of pressure on Neemias Queta from being a bench player and the bench player to now stepping up and taking over leadership, being the center. And again, this isn't a night where you're playing an all-star center, but at the same time, he had a phenomenal game. I mean, 15 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and 100% from the field goal. I mean, he was efficient tonight, and that's what you need, and that's what he was tonight. So I want to give some credit to Queta, but David, you had some interesting news you wanted to say too.
Yeah, so this is I don't want apologies if people are going to be thinking I'm not locked into this podcast. I just had my phone blowing up with notifications, and I was looking at the box score as well, just to make sure I'm not spreading any misinformation here. But in the middle of recording this, I got another notification from Bleacher Report where literally the headline was Jaylen Brown's fake hairline strikes again.
Oh,
And I
dear
don't know if there's a way to pull up the video here.
No, but we could show it on a phone if you wanted to pull up. Or
I will try and pull it up on my perfect.
No way. Are we serious?
His hairline struck Kaishan George on his white sleeve, and
JB.
there's the mark on it again. So Jaylen Brown has gotten victim number 3, and we're only in game 9 of the season.
so
I'm
I
sure
have a
they'll have
question.
their Twitch stream to address this very soon.
Is this going to be an issue through the rest of the season? What are your guys' thoughts?
Well,
or does he stop
It's just
it?
gonna be it's just gonna be a meme all year.
It's gonna be because he clearly hasn't learned from his mistakes.
Well, he's not
Like,
he's not gonna go bald. Like,
Yeah, he's not going bald, and he already had a live stream talking about, like, acknowledging his mistake. Oh, and this time he's actually like concerned. He's like, "What's going on?" But he already had a live stream acknowledging his mistakes. So I think he's just doing it on purpose. I don't think he cares. I think he's just running with it.
I think he got the laughs out and he's making it funny, so I don't think he gives a crap. What about you, Tommy and David, though? What are your guys' input on this? We gotta know.
What's the Celtics record in games that this has happened? Because I know we did against the Knicks, and that was a loss.
Lost that. And then
Who
the
else the
other-
second game?
it was
Was it the Sixers?
I think it was the Sixers. Maybe.
it was before the Sixers game.
Oh, then
I'd have
who
to
was
check.
it?
Actually,
We got to start tracking this. There should be like
yeah, we need a tracker.
It might have been Cleveland.
Oh, was it?
Griffin, get on that graphic now.
Yeah,
we need
let's
to,
make
like,
this a graphic. Let's
we need to click to pull this up.
or because Jaylen Brown, like every time he gets a Celtics Nation Rise MVP, by the way, third Celtics Nation Rise MVP of the season. Kudos to Brown.
Right.
But we gotta put like a tracker too on how many times his hairline comes off.
It's
Like
gonna be
hairline
half
tracker.
games.
Hey, unfortunately, he's. Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, he's balling. So whatever.
balling,
he's
bro,
gonna do.
right? So
Whatever works.
he's staying in the media. He's keeping the Celtics in the media. With this hair. Maybe that's his go-to. That's why he's doing it.
Well, I was talking with this earlier with Daniel too because I saw him earlier, and we were laughing about this earlier. So it's such a coincidence that this happened later. And when he was on call with LeBron and goes turkey or no turkey, and I'm not talking the sandwich. But in all seriousness, though, you guys,
You gotta raise a GoFundMe for Brown.
Well,
David said if he keeps playing like this, David's funding his trip.
I will.
Well,
fund
I
this
think-
for Turkey. We'll
Wow,
make
that'd
it
be
happen.
very nice, considering I think JB has.
But
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
But with that being said, do you guys have any final thoughts for this blowout win, the Celtics over the Washington Wizards? I was about to say the 76ers, but the Wizards.
I just saw one stat that was kind of crazy to me. The Wizards had 19 turnovers. The Celtics only had 5 turnovers in this game. And I don't know if you guys mentioned it earlier. You didn't. Well, that's my bad. But I'm gonna mention it again. That's a crazy stat, and I think that's it shows they're working together offensively. Maybe it shows that the Washington Wizards defense is not very good, but it shows that you're finding a little more rhythm on the offensive end. You're more in sync with each other. The offense is moving a little more fluid. You're playing with, you're making smart decisions. So it's an interesting stat to me. So that's pretty good stuff right there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 2 games against Orlando. They've been a team that I had, and I think everybody that watches the NBA had pretty high expectations for going into this year, picking up Bane this offseason and Paulo taking another step forward this year. They've been struggling a little bit as well too to start the season, and I know they're going to play the Celtics tough. They always do, even when they don't have good years. So I think the next 2 games against Orlando are going to be interesting. I'm guessing it'll probably be a split, but if we could take both, that'd be a great sign. And the next game is going to be an NBA Cup game, so that'll probably add a little bit more intensity and energy to the game itself, and just seeing a higher effort level possibly. So I'm just excited to see these next 2 games against, I think, is a solid Orlando team.
Yeah. What about you, David?
No, I mean, it's all pretty much been said. Just, yeah, we got it. they started putting this new it's kind of like a mini baseball series I like to call, where you spend like a weekend or a few days in one city and you play the same team for a couple days. I'd be happy if we walk out of there with a split. Obviously, the Magic don't really know. Scal alluded to it at the end of the broadcast that Desmond Bain is struggling so far in his integration into Orlando. Don't really know what's going on there, but Orlando's definitely threatening. I mean, we faced them in a playoff series half a year ago, and that was pretty physical. So we know that they're going to be bringing it to us that way, and that's probably the last thing we need. 2 straight games against a physical team, so hopefully we can come out of these games healthy. But yeah, it's an early season test, and one last note on the Jaylen Brown front. I looked it up. It was the Knicks and the Pistons was the second game.
Oh,
We're
Section
1-2.
We're 1-2. Okay, that's
so hear me out. He has 3 Celtics Nation Rise MVPs, 3 hairline MVPs as well. I guess we
Is he
could
gonna get
call
more
it something.
MVPs.
Rise MVPs, or is he gonna get more of his
hairline. Yeah, that's a good
hairline
question.
jersey this season?
I don't know, dude. That's ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie.
You know what?
You
If
guys
he
can
keeps
figure it
doing this, after this season, I think we should buy a white Jaylen Brown jersey and put like some like black tar on it or something just to remember this season by. I think that's the only way you could do it.
out. I know, definitely.
Get like a Jaylen. We'll gift that to one of the viewers. But with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload. And make sure to tune in tomorrow to the Celtics Nation Rise podcast. So thank you guys again so much for watching. The Boston Celtics defeated the Wizards with a final score of 136-107. And we will see you guys with the next one. Peace, guys.
Peace.